Demetris,
Good morning.
fantastic. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah. It's,
First podcast. I have to say.
Exactly. It's my second one, but
Okay.
it's exciting for me too. So we have in the game Qatar's first sports podcast, which we're very excited about. And
Pleasure to be on.
yeah, because I kind of just a little story between us both is that we met by pure accident.
Yes,
it
we
was
did.
kind of Sean, your business partner, and a friend of mine was walking in Alberta Tower, and I just slapped him on the back, and he said, "Come with me, come and have a coffee
Upstairs.
And I was like, "Okay, no problem. Let's. Where are we going?"
He does that a lot.
Yeah. And it was like, "Where am I going?" He said, "Oh, he's in the QFA. Come on up." So I'm coming up there, and I'm thinking, "What's this guy going to be like?" And then I come into your office, and you've got 3 computer screens all around you, and you've got 2 phones, one in one ear and one in the other ear. And it's like, oh my God, I'm going to disturb him. Yeah. So that was our first introduction, and from there it was
Pleasure.
it was amazing meeting you, and the things that you do is incredible. So I'm going to hand it over to you with what you do.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. This is a very unique opportunity for me to have a normal one-to-one talk and be recorded for it. So fun. I should stop saying this. I always say I'm not from the sports industry, but 10 years later, I'm still working on it. So the background for me, I'm a Greek American born in the States, grew up in Greece, went back in at 46 years of age. Now I'm 26 years outside Greece, so it makes me more international than anything else. But it's funny how I got involved in sports since we're on this topic. I came back from the States working in banking and working in project management, which is something I continued in my career. A friend of mine had just returned back to Greece. Hi, how are you? I just came back. He was doing his Harvard MBA. I had returned and I was working in a French bank. He goes, I'm going to be working for the Olympics. Do you want to join? I'm like, of course. So who says no to that? Although people later in life said, wow, you all dropped your jobs and dropped your careers to work for it. But it was a unique opportunity, and once in a lifetime, we will never see ever Olympics in our lifetime in Greece. So I moved over, and that was my first sports project. Now I say this, it doesn't show. I always love sports. And I say this as a story also to my daughters because it's a funny one. I was the captain of the football team. You don't think about these things later. I was playing in every single sports there were. In 1993, I won the top college award for sportsmanship and the best athlete because I played on everything from table tennis to chess. Won gold medals in basketball, volleyball, skiing, everything. I'm good in a lot of sports. But when they gave me this plaque, which is funny to see it, Demetris Zenetos, Best Athlete Award, and instead of inscribing 1993, they put 1933. So I'm 60 years an athlete, that's what I say. But I never thought I would make a career out of it, and the Olympics was the first push into it. It was the first push into project management and understanding how events are organized. And what I love saying about sports, we all come from different industries, and I've worked in retail, I've worked in banking, IT, construction, which is a family business. And all these industries have their peculiarities. Sports, though, is the one that encompasses everything. Because when you do a sports event, you have to do everything from A to Z. You have to know the security, the logistics, the planning, the marketing, the ticketing, the competition element of it. And you never see, and funny, we're in this building because this was my first sports project in Qatar. This was the building of the Asian Cup in 2011. And if I describe to you one by one the departments, it's representatives of every industry, which you don't see in other projects. Yes, you will have your project managers, depending on the project, your experts on that industry. You don't see what you see in sports. Everything from a generator to people were telling me, what did you do in the Greek Olympics? I go, I was collecting stray dogs at one point because it was a big risk. We had about 20,000 stray dogs in Athens.
Right.
He's like, what job did you? I go, I was the project manager for the communicate with the 3rd biggest budget in the Olympics. Yet, when it came to the actual test event where you have horses, the stray dog could create a big problem because it could go back to a horse. The thing falls off. The horse dies. It was a big risk. So what we were doing, collecting stray animals. So you don't hear this in other industries. So I was very, very lucky to become involved in it. Fast forward 7 years later, I'm in London. I'm doing the consultancy life and the rat race. And at some point we said, enough is enough. We can't continue not seeing each other, working crazy hours, traveling crazy time, Monday to Friday, 2 years in a row, traveling away from home. And you'll understand this better than anything. working a life that my toothbrush and my shaving machine were always in my suitcase. So I would take it, brush my teeth, put it back in the suitcase just in case I don't forget it. That was a life we didn't want to continue. So in 2009, that's a lie, 2008, I met some people from Qatar that worked in the Qatar Football Association. And like everybody before they're coming to this country, what are you doing? Where is it? Because I knew the Middle East, I knew Dubai. And the next question is like, oh, we're doing an Asian Cup, which is like the Euro. Like, here's my CV. And I was the first person they hired. So that's what brought me to this region. And I'll just finish saying 10 years after, I still work in some form or projects assignment in the Qatar Football Association. I've been blessed to be in that organization, seeing how it changes through time. And I've worked for anything from sports event management, which is the Asian Cup, restructuring the organization to become a better organization, working in political campaigns and cooperation agreements. In the past 3 years, being honored by all the 8 federations of the Gulf to be the project and manager and strategic advisor for the Arab Gulf Cup Football Federation, which is an organization created from the 8 countries of the Gulf to commercialize and better organize the Gulf Cup, which is one of the most, the oldest cup here in the region, and to some nations even more important than the World Cup. If they compete in the Gulf Cup, sometimes it's more important than actually competing in the World Cup. So yeah, that's my background in sports for the past, 15 odd years, 16.
Every time I meet you, it's you've got an incredible lifestyle. It's like you're on the go 24/7. It seems like.
Stop, yeah.
I kind of one of the last ones I saw was your WhatsApps, and it was laying on the table, and it just wouldn't stop, and the whole thing.
How did we live before WhatsApp? Yeah.
How did we live? And it's like I'm 52 years old, and I'm a bit like yourself. Okay, is it? I'm not. Doesn't look like I'm into sports, but I was a army windsurfing champion. It's like I used to play rugby, I used to play football, I used to play all of those things, so hockey to a very high standard. But then you get married and things change, you have children, and then you don't go onto the courts or you don't do those things anymore. So it's always been in my blood. And that's the one thing that I would say with yourself, is that you're involved in such a high level here in Qatar, especially when it comes to football and many other sports, because you're working on different types of things at the moment with the sports technology.
Community sports,
you put so much back in. What other things do you do?
I'll say that it came by luck. One thing brings the other. So when it comes to sports, I agree with you. At some point, you grow out of it, but I still love to compete. I will go out, and I had a bloody knee the other day, and I Instagrammed, which I don't usually do, and I Instagrammed my blood coming down my neck. I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm 14 years old again. So the competition never leaves, but I do get more pleasure or excitement from behind the scenes. So what you saw me, and this is true, I've been in now, about 4 or 5 Emir Cup events, which is the final event of the season. I've been in the Arab Games. I've been in big competitions like Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, the Italian Super Cup. If you ask anybody, where's Demetris when you always see this? I'm never in front. I'm never in the pitch. I'm always in a booth that probably doesn't see the field of play. And I'm with radios. And I'm very good with radios. I'm very good that I can control the best I've done. 4 radios and 2 in my ear. Which means if the building is on fire, I will not notice because all my concentration is on the 6 channels and monitoring. But I love that. I love doing that because I love how the planning has developed for a year in advance, coming to that moment of excitement and trying to solve the minute issues of that particular moment, not even caring what the field of play is doing, not even caring what's happening there. The funny story I always say, which is a true one, Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, one of the biggest matches we've ever held in Doha, 45,000 people in Khalifa Stadium. By police standards, at least 20,000 people outside the stadium without tickets. Just to come, they had traveled from all the region, a lot of people from Bahrain at that time, just to take pictures of the media, to take probably a glimpse of Ronaldo. And it was so crazy that at the end of the time of the match, police disappeared, the match was over, press conference over, yet there were about 6,000 people in the stadium. And of course, some of these filtered in, and there was a huge backlog bottleneck in in the locker rooms, and we were escorting one by one all the players out. And this is how I feel sometimes. I'm in the back. What am I going to do? Everybody's doing a chain, human chain, to let these people out. And at some point, you know how you feel something's behind you? I'm like, something, man. And I kind of turn, and it's Ibrahimovic. Walking calmly, nobody paying attention to him. And everybody was looking and focused in the door that's going to be opening up. Casillo was coming out. Right? Everybody was waiting for Ronaldo. This big player, tall and big, and he just walks out calmly, goes into the bus. Nobody pays attention. This is how I feel sometimes. In the back, nobody paying attention to me, yet I have a very satisfaction when things go right. I played my piece of it, my part of it. So how did I get involved in the other things you've seen? I think by luck, one thing brings another. I'm involved in community sports. Started as a part-time, let's say, activity off free or something that you don't really think about, and kind of develops into a business. And we're working in community sports and activations of community sports in Qatar and in the region. Then this transferred into an Esports initiative out of Greece and going into the European Union and possibly coming to the region here and going to India, and something we've discussed many times. I think esports is something very new to us, but let me not start talking about it because we will be talking until tomorrow. It is the new generation of where things are going, and it's something that's 3-4 generations under us. But when I have my daughter, and this is a very good example, when I bought the new Note 9, just because I like writing notes, my daughter saw the phone and she goes, is that the new Note 9? I'm like, how do you know the new Note 9? She goes, that's the one that has Fortnite installed on it. So my daughter, going into this region, I'm like, okay, I think there's something there. We have to keep our hands on this region. So I'm involved in esports, and also I'm involved for the first time in an advisory company. I'm kind of like a freelancer of advisors, of people that have experience in the sports industry. And we're doing a lot of Europe, America sports advisory. So yes, you're right, too much on my hand right now. Too much on my plate, too many WhatsApps, too many hours, but at least in this region, I do it on my own time, whereas in the UK that I've lived in the Netherlands, in Greece, and in America, time, you kind of have to stay in the office to do these things and always be in the office and always be on the travel. Here, list, I'm home, I'm with the family. Okay, my kids have always used to seeing me with a laptop and phones and stuff, but I'm home. So I'm developing these passions and these other activities, but on my own time.
Yeah.
Which is a different...
And quite a few people that I speak to recently, not recently, it's just through experience. The word luck comes. I was just lucky. It just happened. I was lucky. It just happened. I was speaking with, we both know Louis.
Yes.
And
he was, I think...
he was on a podcast.
And on LinkedIn today, it says 12 years in the Olympic Committee. I have to send him a congrats note.
He was just an incredible... I really, really enjoyed his podcast. And then I went to meet him. I had an hour of his time, and it was fantastic. And again, the word luck came into it. He was in Australia and something happened. He replied because there was no social media back then. He replied to a little advertisement like we used to, sounding a little bit old myself. We replied to a little advertisement, and it was through luck. And then he got involved with the Olympics. And that seems to be the kind of factor with a lot of people that I speak to, is it was luck. So you've come from chasing the stray dogs or trying to encourage the stray dogs.
Which is true.
And then all of a sudden your life changes so much.
Okay, I'll say something. To work successfully, I hope, in this industry and be a strategic, when you put strategy and planning and project management, you have to have it to back it up. So yes, I've been lucky to work in sports and in this industry, this whole region that's developing so rapidly in sports. Possibly that is not a luck decision that I specifically came to the Middle East, starting in the Emirates, coming here, always having my doors open and traveling, because this region is developing sports. If I was in the old world, if I was in Europe, possibly it would be different. America would be different if I chose that career path. Here it's booming. So maybe the luck element is when it comes to the individual jobs, But choosing to come to the Middle East was not a luck decide. I had worked 5 years in big, huge projects in London, which that might be lucky because I could have been any type of consultant in the UK, and yet I was. So I have to say this, how it came to this. My first project in the UK was a retail transformation. Just understand the numbers when we're talking about events. So it was the Littlewoods Shop Direct integration, which you know Littlewoods from the old books.
Yeah.
At that time, it was the biggest retail integration of the entire world. 120,000 project milestones. Just think of the number I'm telling you. Delivering this new organization, Littlewoods and Shop Direct, which is online and traditional, delivering more packages to UK homes per day than the UK Post Office. Just understand the numbers. So when you come from the Greek Olympics and you go into this, you think you know nothing. So I learned project management, proper planning, almost from scratch. But the Greek Olympics was a boost to go into this because all I knew until then was banking operations. And then the second project I get was Department of Work and Pensions, and you know how big that is, transforming their computers, 100,000 PCs. Just think of the number I'm telling you now. About a 6-month period, changing all the PCs and the infrastructure in each office, 7,000 PCs per night. When you think of these numbers, they call the World Guinness record. They're like, hi, we're from this project. We want to report about it. And they're like, yeah, you're right. It is a World Guinness record, but nobody cares to read about these things. But I'm just telling you, so these luck projects that brought me that experience, okay, then transferred me into the sports industry, where it's again planning. It's taking all the functional areas, taking what everyone should do, planning before, during, and after, delivering proper reporting, proper event, post-event reports. Okay, that's project management. So yes, there's a luck going into the specific projects here, but okay, there was not that much luck when it came to following a career path that brought me here. So there is
it luck or I suppose it's opportunity? The word is it luck or is it opportunity? I think you make your own.
You have to, and it's hard work. I mean, if you think about it, how many in the sports world, and people understand this, and especially now, you can't plan for holidays because usually all the events are during a high season event like the winter season, in between New Year and Christmas. So for the expats, the Western expats, forget winter holidays. We forgot Christmas traveling for 6 years in a row now. And then when you talk about summer events or something, so there's some things, weekends, you kind of forget these things when you're working this one. So it is hard work. I'm not saying it's all beautiful, but yes, okay, in between luck, in between hard work, somehow your career gets carved from instances. Maybe you catch them, maybe you don't catch them.
Yeah, that's a lovely way of putting it, because that's exactly how it is. You never know. And if, with all your experience, for anybody that's thinking about coming to Qatar or they're just starting up in the sporting industry, what would be the best advice you would give them?
Try to get involved in the local events. And again, I don't want to be specific for that. The whole region has a wealth of international events because they do their tour around. Yeah. And it's now, at least with online job opportunities, it's easier to get glimpse of them. Because there's job boards that have these job opportunities that you can come. Now, specific for Qatar, it's a little more difficult now, and I'll tell you why, because the experience is already here. So there is a recycling of expats and people in the region that know about these events. So they stay in the region and they move on to the other event, which is a good thing because the legacy is here, the knowledge remains here. And the example I say, in 2011, in this building, we had about 170 expats, if I'm not mistaken, by the end of 2011, from all across the globe. 2016 AFC under 23, the number is much low, and in the in the Emir Cup and the events that happened afterwards, Supreme Committee, 0 hires from outside because the knowledge base is inside the country. So somehow, if somebody's breaking into this industry, you have to get into a local event. You have to and there's so many regional events across the world, from the Commonwealth Game, the Olympic Games, the football cups, rugby, anything you can get your hand on. It's the same event of planning, delivery, and analysis afterwards. So whatever you put your hand in, you kind of understand. Saying that, Coming from a PMO perspective, I was always lucky that I could see it from an umbrella, from a helicopter view, excuse me, and you can see everything that's happening below. Because if you go into one specific industry, accommodation, if you go into competition, if you go into legal, if you go into logistics, you don't see what everybody else is doing. So I've been lucky enough to see it always from the top view. But if you want to break in, just go into any LOC, local organizing committee, just dip your foot in and see if you like that industry or another industry. One will get you into the other.
Yeah, and that's again another important factor is it just get in there some way.
Get in.
Get
And this, I'll tell you, particularly for Greeks coming from Greece. Again, I don't. Half of my life is outside Greece right now, but coming from Greece, Greece was the first time in history that we exported know-how after the Greek Olympics. Before us was the Australians. After us was the Chinese. But this expertise, you can't contain it in your own country anymore. You will expand. You will go out there. You'll find new opportunities. So get into any kind of local organizing committee, any event. I'm not saying specifically go into a federation like I am now, which I'm lucky enough that has a lot of events around. Go into any LOC. Yes, it's a 2-3 year gig, but maybe that's more than enough that you want. It's 2-3 years working like crazy, getting the experience, just soaking everything in, moving on to the next one, and then in the next one, you're going to choose, oh, no, really, I don't want to go into ticketing. Maybe I'll go into marketing and commercial. And you expand from there.
Yeah.
But you have to get involved in something that's happening around.
And I suppose anyone that's thinking about getting into sport, one thing that you have to have is the love of it.
You do.
Because it's a vocation, right?
You have to have a passion. I mean, you can't survive the ups and downs of it if you don't have a passion. And the story I always say, volunteers for these events get more, let's say, down, more psychologically withdrawn after the event than we do. We just, when you're working in an organization, you get burned out and then you relax, or you have a heart attack and you go to the hospital. But volunteers who are doing it because they have more passion, they're doing it for free, they get more withdrawn at the end of the event. And this is true for all organizations that have to have big volunteers. So you have to have a passion, or else you're not going to survive. You can't survive the build up to an event. Forget going home, forget going to birthday parties, forget going out. It's just craziness before leading into an event. And then you drop down. You have to have a passion for it, or else there's no way you can do it.
And it's funny you brought up the volunteers. I was staggered. I didn't look into these things beforehand, but it's people give up their free time willingly. They just want to, even if it's just standing, kind of
And
marshalling, doing something. It's incredible, and it's just it's a love of the sport.
It's even more. Volunteerism as a notion doesn't exist in a lot of countries. We come from the Western world. I grew up in the States. It was natural in our schools and in our corporations. One Sunday a month, you will go and volunteer. You will go paint a house. You will clean a beach. That is normal to us. In Greece, it was not normal. And I'm going to say the same thing about Qatar. Volunteerism did not exist. So there was an education promotional campaign for 3 years before, 2 years before, 1 year before, that grew up so successfully that, especially for Greece, from the 83,000 volunteers that were communicated, 45 were registered for the Greek Olympics. And usually Olympic Games have a turnover of 12 to 15%, which is natural. People will come in, see the excitement, get their hat, get there, and then go, leave. In Greece, it was less than 3%, which means there were a lot of volunteers just sitting and doing nothing, because you plan for 20 people, but you kind of have 25 because 20. Nobody left. Really? And I see the same thing develop in this country, in this region. Volunteerism did not exist when I came into this country. Volunteers were paid part-time staff. And through the years, after the Asian Cup in 2011, we gave a database. Now there's a national volunteer database in this country that picks up these people who come now and they don't expect anything. They expect, and I have the recognition afterwards, some kind of plaque or some kind of diploma. They expect a recognition dinner because it's our way to thank them, and that's it. And they will come with their child, with their wives, with their all together as a family, doing volunteering work inside a venue, outside in the fan zone, which did not exist when I came to this country, 2009, 10 years this month. This did not exist before. So it's an amazing thing to see it grow.
These big events wouldn't survive without
No,
volunteers.
you can't. You can't.
You can't. You just can't. So going on to, from that, the love. Okay, you've got one of your own startups with a community fitness program, which I'm kind
sports,
of yeah, and it's kind of, people don't realise that when you, because I'm privileged that I've got one of those startups that I like to work on, and you don't. It's not for the money, right? It's just for.
There's not.
And can I disturb you there?
Yes,
I want to talk about the one thing with the WhatsApp messages. So you had all these messages coming in from all different people that was obvious something important. But the most important thing to you was the lady that needed to get to Rotana, because she was helping you to be to do one of the coaching sessions. And all that mattered to you with the messages was that you needed to get her there. She was helping you out.
She's a coach. She's a part-time coach. Not the town of the Oryx International School. But
Sorry.
you heard Oryx, and I know it's the same. No, it is. Community sports is something we've always been involved in. Especially if you play, you always see it. And we try to help professionalize a local group of football coaches, and that transformed to something bigger. And there's now a group of, if I count correctly, 12 of us that have created this sports entity with the purpose of making money in the future on doing sports events, doing esports, doing event. But the community sports, we know it's not a moneymaker, but at least it helps people. It helps people get off their bums going into and playing, and kids who in other areas probably will not have. Now I should not say playing esports every day, because that's now a different industry. But getting and becoming active and stuff, it's something that this whole entire world needs. And I'm very happy that not me, I'm not alone. I'm telling you, there's a big shareholder group that believes in this idea to develop community sports. And we were discussing with somebody, the market is small enough and big enough that it can hold up multiple people. Small enough that people will remember if you don't do your job well and you're not professional, you don't answer to parents, and you're just like, oh, come on, go into the website and find your information. But big enough also to invite more companies into it. And come on, it's community. You have to engage in it, and something that we learned growing up as kids, but we have to push it as much as we can.
And again, these are all kind of stories that I've got with you. We organised a trip with 25 students from the UK, UCFB, from Wembley Stadium. It was quite daunting for me, because I wanted to make sure that it was a real special one, and you were one of the first people to say, yeah, I'm there.
I love academia, so
I'm there.
That's a different academia, and training is that needs passion. When you have a whole week working and you need to get up and go train, that needs more passion than possibly your daily work, because for your work you get paid. Talking to students and training and meeting students from other places that just want to hear a new opinion, want to hear something new. And a couple of the students I met needed some help on their CSR reports. Come on, I know we're all busy, and that's 5 minutes of my day that I will not get back. But for that student, it's important that somebody he met in the Middle East, and he responds to my email, and come on. Just think how we were at their age. But academia is a whole different. Academia, you have to have a bigger passion, I think, than sports or any kind of other industry, because you're transferring your knowledge and you're transferring your experience. It's different than work.
It is different. And I think to myself, where I'm involved in that type of stuff, is that I'm kind of lucky in that way, because I find that come naturally to me. The 25 students, for example, I'm still on their WhatsApp group, and I'm still getting messages to say, I'm thinking about Qatar. That was amazing. I've got people that were on that. You were one of those guests. Gordon Penny was one of them. Aisha from Furas. All the people that we know, and they all made a part, and they all changed somebody's lives. And they didn't go out there. They just gave it what they had. You know, they put themselves over, and that's you for me.
And
that's
it's the
you
same
to a
when
T.
now when it comes to these connections, I'll show you a little trick that I have. When it comes to LinkedIn development, because that is that group of people, we will know, we will follow them, we will see their careers because I'm connected. But when it comes to generally going and expanding your network on LinkedIn, I don't accept people that I don't have a personal message I don't know. I have that thing in me. If it's something, I get 20 messages per day on LinkedIn connections. If I don't know you from somewhere, or we work together in my college, and there's no introduction email, to me, that's just lazy. It's just clicking to see if you can. But if there's a personal message, even if I don't know you, even if you're in a competing market or somebody that, if there's a personal message, I will accept you because it's taken the time to introduce yourself, to say, hi, I would like to meet you to sell a product. I don't care. Maybe I never buy your product, but I love that personal networking experience. I don't enjoy the cold turkey or no face approach of, so these kids have done something. Yes, they came here, but they could have just put me on LinkedIn, but each and every one of them thank you so much, nice to meet you. Can I please have some help and assistance? I'm like, of course. They're nice. They were nice people.
LinkedIn is a subject in itself, and it really is, because it's been probably the biggest, with me being here for 10 years in Qatar, it's been the biggest tool that I've ever had. Yes. And it's but you've got to make the effort. And I suppose with everything what we're talking about today, it's making the effort. Yeah. It's making that little bit of an effort, the difference that you have.
Go on the other side too. When I do get invitations, I know when I accept, I have to make the 30-second effort to reply back.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the LinkedIn connection. Nice to meet you. Greetings from the desert. I do it a standard one, but I write it every time. You can't copy paste it from somewhere.
Yeah.
Come on. We need to be polite. As we say in Greek, politeness is not owned, is not earned. You have to give it. And we say also in Greek, people don't owe to say something good to you. They don't know you. You can just walk to the street. Nobody has to say good morning. Nobody has to say hello. God bless you. Nobody has to say these things. It's just manners are free. Come on, give it out. Give it out to the world.
You're right. Give it out. Make a difference. And a good example, I was saying to you just before the show started, I said, I met this great guy last night. And it was in a coffee shop, and he was sitting next to me, and I just started. I'll do it in the elevator. I'll do it wherever, and that's one of the good advice.
You're good in that.
It's just kind of meet people. You've got to. It's like one of those things, and never be afraid to offer your hand of friendship. It's like you'll be absolutely blown away by the amount of people that will come back and smile, a little smile, eye contact.
My daughter came to me 2 weeks ago. She goes, "Daddy, a lot of people are saying good morning to me, and they're happy to see me." I go, "Why is that?" Because I say good morning every morning to them, and I go and kiss the teacher. I go, "Can I ask you something? Why do you do that?" "Because it makes them feel good." I go, "That's a perfect answer. That's a perfect answer for a 7-year-old to say that." She gets it.
Yeah.
Putting and spreading out good vibes, good work. Come on. It'll come back to you, but you don't do it for that. You do it to make the other person happy.
Yeah. And that joy, because you do feel the joy. If when you get something, and there could be the smallest little detail that you recognize, and the meaning to that person is immense.
I'll tell you a story. It's kind of bad with all the crisis that is happening in Europe, and especially hitting Greece and my hometown of Athens. There's this thing that happened to me 2 years ago. And okay, coming from abroad, you always have this different perspective in life. But what I'm about to say, it has nothing to do with where I come from. I went in the morning, I was doing some work for my brother in the construction. I did delivery, and I came back. I go, done. Okay, let me go get something to eat, because it was like 8 o'clock in August, which everybody's disappeared from Athens. And I go into this coffee shop. I'm not joking. I go, "Good morning. Can I have 2 cheese puffs, pies, and 1 milk?" Oh, milk is a chocolate milk. And the guy takes it, and in between taking, kind of stands for an uncomfortable 5-6 seconds more, which something was wrong. I go, "Sorry, that's it." And he snaps back into reality. He goes, no. He goes, "Sorry." He goes, "Just every day comes in, every day goes out. Not one person smiles and says good morning." I'm like, "You're joking." He goes, "No, nobody says good morning anymore. And you say it, and the chips in my brain just didn't work well, because you said good morning with a smile." I'm like, so this is where we're come, this society that we're going into, of looking at the tablet and not, come on.
Demetris,
we have to be a little bit more open.
Thank you so much for coming on
pleasure.
The podcast. And I hope today that you've got there's some valuable lessons there today, and take advice from what we've been talking about. There may have been little messages that we came up with, but they're huge here in Qatar. Take advantage of them. Be nice, and you'll go farther than you can expect.
You never know. Hard work, nice, and just keep on the lookout for, if you're interested in this industry, keep pushing, getting into it, and even in your local region, and then expand internationally. It's a big industry. It's a big industry.
Don't stop reaching out. Don't stop.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.